Hello, this is Hernandez from Group 2, and this is my response to the group videos for Week 5. I'm going to provide feedback to the various groups, and hopefully it's helpful, and certainly welcome any additional thoughts you might have as we move forward. As far as Group 1, they were asked to address what are the emergent properties that make a whole more than just the sum of its parts, according to Polkinghorne. They agreed that the way to approach this was to study the collective rather than the individual. I thought it was really notable that one of the group members said that while studying the whole is important, respect for the individuals and their identities was also something to keep in mind. They described the whole as a new entity rather than a collection of individuals. I found this very helpful to me to think about this collective as something new, and I'll keep that in mind as we look at this topic going forward. I was looking forward to hearing examples from the group, but none were presented in the group video. So I have something to think about as we move forward, as well as how to bring some of these very complex thoughts to life through examples. The next, Group 1 was asked to compare and contrast the Latin American and U.S. origins of critical research using the Nelson and Proletansky text. They noted that the Latin American origins were much more participatory in nature, and they assumed that the people who are the subjects are in an oppressed situation and that change was imperative. The U.S. approach, on the other hand, was a more distant and observant approach, working with organizational managers but not the disadvantaged people themselves. This reminded me of the remarks that I made in regards to liberation theology, which took a very traditional faith-based initiative and brought it to life through action to help people who were disadvantaged. Group 3 was asked how do non-living materials and structures fit with living and social systems to make up coherent whole systems, according to Polkinghorne. All in that group agreed that non-living materials and structures contribute to our lives and do not exist outside the whole. They made an excellent analogy to a house that is not inhabited won't be maintained and ultimately will cease to exist. So it reminded me of the guidance around critical research, which includes taking complex thoughts and jargon and using understandable language to allow the participants to feel included in the process. And I think the analogy to a house took a very complex concept, like much of Polkinghorne's writings, and making it understandable for many more of us. So I really appreciated that work. Group 3 was then asked to address the challenges and limitations of critical research according to Nelson and Proletansky. The group acknowledged that critical research has not been widely accepted by academia and seen as observation rather than research by some. They also pointed out the difficulties in critical research, but they also were quick to point out that for the work that we're seeking to do in social responsibility and sustainable communities, it was an excellent fit because it gives the option to take action, affect change while conducting research. Group 4. They were asked to assess what part does cognition play in our experience of living in systems and having systems thinking, according to Polkinghorne. I think this group expressed what many of us felt, which is that the Polkinghorne reading was a difficult one. They were able to suss out an important point, which was that as researchers, we must consider all factors. We must be aware of the interpretations of things as they are affected by external influences such as society and internal influences such as our own intuition. And again, I appreciated having an additional thought around what was fairly complex reading. Finally, Group 4 was asked to assess what is the process for critical research according to Nelson and Proletansky. They talked about the required collaboration between the researcher, affected people, and other stakeholders. They also talked about how researchers must be willing to make a long-term commitment. And finally, they pointed out ongoing communications was key to achieving the goals for critical research. And I think by listing out all the various aspects of the work involved with critical research, they pointed out something which struck me, was that to be able to truly deliver on the critical research paradigm, it requires a multifaceted approach. So appreciated group for pointing that out to us. They also shared their perspective that analytical qualitative research was probably the best route to pursue in terms of methods you might want to apply in critical research. But I think there was a point they made also that it could be complemented by quantitative research. So all in all, I think it was very helpful for me this week to pay close attention to the moderator videos and also to some of the individual responses to really gain a better understanding of both readings. So hopefully my comments are helpful. Thanks, and look forward to next week.